Hey guys, Whitney here. Welcome to another episode of the Passive Investing Made Simple show. I am your host. I'm going to give it just a couple minutes for people to file in the room. Today, we have kind of a mini workshop on one of my favorite topics, which is how to level up your life. And we're going to talk about a framework that I stumbled upon really recently on how to do this in 3 simple steps. It was just I just fell in love with the simplicity and the actual effectiveness of this model. So anyways, if you don't know me, welcome. My name is Whitney Elkins-Hutten. I'm the Director of Investor Education here at passiveinvesting.com. And we record this show live every Tuesday to help you get through the ins and outs of passive real estate so you can go into your next or first or next investment with confidence. And, you know, if you don't know me, I started real estate investing back in 2002. I started off living, flipping, and house hacking. Those terms didn't even exist back then. YouTube didn't exist back then. Really learned, how to rehab houses out of a book from Home Depot called the Home Depot 1, 2, 3 book. I still have it on my bookshelf. It is an amazing book for home repair. But I was bitten by the real estate bug, and did quite well building up buckets of equity with flipping houses, but didn't have financial freedom, just didn't understand how to make the cash flow all come together. And more importantly, how to create impact in my life, which is what we're going to talk about today. Eventually, somebody said, well, hey, why don't you hold on to one of those flips that you're doing and put a renter in it? And I was like, genius idea. And my husband and I scaled up a portfolio of over 30 single family rentals and quickly realized that if we were going to have financial freedom, and this didn't even include time freedom, we were going to have to get to 80 single family rentals to replace my income, his income, all of our benefits, and just live the lifestyle we truly desired. And that's when I was like, you know what, we've got to do this a different way, because right now I am burning the candle at both ends, 5 times in the middle. And we have a baby girl at home. I just didn't understand how we were going to do that. I understood real estate was leveraged. However, we just didn't have the financial freedom, the freedom that we desired. And so fast forward today, we actually have a portfolio of over 6,500 residential units and 2,200 self-storage units, all in partnership. And a bulk of this portfolio is in passive real estate partnerships. Now, these are just kind of, vanity metrics. There's, a lot of other pieces to our portfolio. But really what we have is the result, which is 100% choice on how we spend our time. And one of the ways that I love spending my time is here with you guys, helping you understand the ins and outs of passive real estate investing and just the power that it can have in creating freedom in your life and just impact in your life. And we can help you do that here at passiveinvesting.com. We have an extensive portfolio that our investors have invested alongside with us. We are able to give them extremely strong returns in a very short timeline. All right, but let's dive into today's topic, the educational topic. And this is, I'm going to ask you to do a lot of this work alongside with me. So if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast player of choice after the fact, I encourage you, go ahead and listen through, but save this episode and come back to it and actually do the work alongside of us here. Okay. I don't think we're going to jump into any financial, legal, or tax advice today, but if we do, just know you have to take this information back to your investment team before making any investment. All right. Now, we're going to talk about the 3 simple steps on how to level up your life. And I can tell you, when I, started getting into real estate investing, especially passive investing, all I could see was, how can I get money for my next investment? And, that's great to have such honed in focus. However, it almost cut to its detriment for me, because I kind of lost sight of the why am I on this journey? Now, I had that why in the back of my head, right? And many of us know our why. Our why might be We want financial freedom. We want time freedom in order to, spend more time with family and friends and travel and do all those things. But this is not a starting point and an ending point. It's a whole journey along the way. And when I stumbled across this particular framework we're going to go over today, I was just blown away. But first, let's talk about what it means to actually level up your life. Okay. And, I looked it up in the Cambridge dictionary, and level up is actually in there. It's a verb. It means to improve or increase. Okay. To make something improve or increase. Now, again, this doesn't mean, start and the finish, right? It means incrementally growing over time, incrementally improving it over time. Now, why is it important to kind of reframe our thought when we think of leveling up as like getting to the next goal or getting to the next milestone? And, really when it comes to passive investing, when we think of leveling up, most of us, as I kind of, drew that illustration for you, think of leveling up as leveling up our income, leveling up our returns in our portfolio. But really that money that we are generating, those returns we're generating in our portfolio is just a tool to help us achieve a better life, what we want in our life. All right. And it's the investment is not to get the money. The investment is to get the tool. That way we can actually get the life we want. And most people, I feel, and I fell in this trap, lack a plan to use this tool, money, wisely, or they make the plan so complicated that they are actually living life in deferral mode, which is the trap that I fell into. I don't know if you've ever, if you're here live, I encourage you to go to the Q&A box. Let me know. Have you ever thought this thought? I'll do that when I get $10,000. I'll do that when I have left my job. I will do that when I have X, Y, or Z. Okay, that's living life in deferral. And it's just, again, kind of a trap that we can all fall into. All right, so let's talk about some simple ways to level up. Now, again, this framework, I don't pretend to have come up with it myself. I actually had the amazing opportunity to attend a talk by Jesse Itzler through Build Your Life Resume. Now, let's talk about who Jesse Itzler is. He is actually the co-founder of Marquis Jets. He was also the co-founder of Zico Coconut Water. He's now the owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He's written 2 books, Living with the Monks and Living with a Seal. He's the father of 4 kids. And oh, by the way, he's married to a multi-billion-dollar ground-up businesswoman. They have a lot going on. And I was just like, like anybody that would attend a talk, with somebody of this caliber, billionaire status, I was just frantically taking notes. And the thing was, he was able to present his framework for leveling up his life in under 5 minutes. And I was just blown away just by how simple it was. I just thought, man, I have got to share this with everybody. All right, his system is very simple. Really, in order to level up your life, you have to think in terms of three different ways. How can you create life-defining events? How can you create mini adventures? And how can you create life-sustaining, life-cultivating habits? Now, there's a mathematical formula to this. You might be sitting here going, really? Those are the only 3 things that I got to think about? No, the beauty is in the simplicity, but also the formula behind it and what that actually can translate for you in your life. So let's talk about what that formula is. So a life-defining event. Okay, he says, have one life-defining event a year. Now, he equates this to the misogi, which is a Japanese Shinto ritual that involves standing under an extremely cold waterfall and repeating a traditional chant. The whole point is you don't have to go find a waterfall. You don't have to stand under it and endure that. But it's really about cleansing and rebirth, okay? There are some rules to choosing a misogi or a life-defining event, okay? According to him, you have to have a 50% chance or more of failure. So essentially you are having to kind of go through the fire, if you will, in order to achieve this thing. It can't kill you, and you can't kill or harm others, okay? When you go through this. I think those are, hopefully everybody knows this. Somebody threw in the chat, I love Jesse Itzler. Yeah, I didn't know who he was at all before I attended this event. All right, so let's think of you. Again, if you're joining here live, I want you to go to the chat. Let's workshop this. I want you to put in an example of what would be a life-defining event that you are in the process of undergoing this year. And I just jotted down some examples. Maybe you have, you're planning to take an amazing trip this year that is just a once in a lifetime trip. Maybe you're writing a book, okay? Putting up a podcast, something that is just entirely like, you're stepping outside of yourself to get done. Maybe you're launching your investment career. Hey, everybody here is interested on some sort of level in passive investing. Maybe that has been scary for you. And you're just like, how do I get this done in the middle of, all the news that I'm hearing about inflation and recession? Like, that is scary. I have to step outside of myself. I want you to go to the chat box and I want you to drop in, what is your life-defining event for the year? Now, I know it's really easy to sit on these podcasts and to sit back and listen to them while you're, working or driving. Hey, if you're driving, I totally get it. Don't put down the phone, to jump on to the chat box, or don't try to do that while you're driving. But again, I want you to workshop this. You put in your responses, only I'm going to see them. We won't be sharing it with the group, but drop that in the Q&A box. We've got somebody who's like, yeah, I want to step into passive investing. Somebody else that is like, I'm writing a book this year. That's amazing. That is no small feat. Now, this life-defining event, I want to give you some other context with it. It can be yours, okay? It can be your family's, all right? But ultimately, it is your event to control. So, when my husband and I sat down and worked this framework, he was super excited because, he had always thought that we had to plan something together as a family. I'm like, no. I want to do this high altitude race at 17 miles, all above 10,000 feet, in elevation. I've always wanted to do this race. And he was like, great. I've always wanted to bike from Fruita, Colorado to Moab and camp out with my buddies. And it was fantastic because now we have two different life-defining events that we are cultivating for ourselves this year. All right. So that's step one. Okay, get that on the calendar, right? Because that is going to be what you work towards during the year. Now, number two, Jesse calls this actually the Kevin's rule, but really it's called 6 mini adventures. And essentially, these are events that are achievable, right? You can easily do, you can easily book, but you normally wouldn't do them, right? Fundamentally, at the bottom or around these 6 mini adventures is that you're connecting yourself either with yourself or with yourself and others, right? You're putting yourself in a higher, kind of like resonating on a higher level. So for me, I took my daughter on a ski weekend this last weekend. We are also maybe, talking about doing a cooking class together. Maybe you want to go see a museum that's 2 hours away that you've never been to before. Right? Essentially, the 6 mini adventures, plan 6 mini adventures throughout the year. Okay. Ideally, you would spread these out one every other month, but at least plan 6 mini adventures that feed your soul and help you connect with others. I want you to go to the Q&A box and drop in some ideas, a really quick brainstorm. Okay. No holds barred. What other mini adventures could you plan for your calendar? Guys, we're already in month 2 of the year. Okay, drop in 5 mini adventures that you could do and possibly drop on your calendar. All right, it doesn't have to be a whole weekend. Maybe you can just take a couple hours, but again, something that is outside of yourself that you normally wouldn't do, that would enrich your life and enrich the lives of others around you. Got some responses coming in. Somebody said, going on a canoeing trip, going on a camping trip. That's fantastic. All right, what are some other examples? Ooh, hosting a restaurant caliber dinner party. I love that. That kind of gets my wheels turning on something else, especially coming out of COVID. Heck yeah, let's host some parties here. All right. Now, again, you can create these with yourself, or you can create them if you have a spouse or a significant other, you can create them with them. You can also create it with your family. The key is 6 mini adventures. All right. All right. And then the last piece is creating 4 life-giving habits throughout the year. Now, I don't know about you. Anytime the first of the year comes around, I'm looking at all my habits. My habit list is pretty long. And I'm like, really, you want me to add more habits this year? Like, okay, I don't know how I can do that. But really, what Jesse described in his talk was to add 1 habit a quarter. 1 habit a quarter that's positive, that it's life-changing. Okay, it can be for yourself. It could be for enhancing your career. That is maintainable over time. Right? Once you get the swing of it, you can maintain it over time. And that I always like throwing on, when we talk about habit work, throwing on the parameter by James Clear, which is make it stackable, right? Is there a way that you can take a lot of these mini habits and compress them together into like little mini routines? That way you have, you have one particular cue in the morning and it tumbles a whole lot of habits. Like for me, I don't leave the kitchen until I've had my greens drink, my proteins drink, taken my vitamins, made my morning chai, made my morning tea, and filled my water bottle up. Okay, and that's all before I've even had breakfast or anything like that. I have taken care of a lot of those health habits before I even cracked open the refrigerator to get myself breakfast. And it's easy for me because I can now get them all done in under 2 minutes. Whereas before I would spread them throughout the day and I'd never get through them all. All right. What are some of your examples of habits that you want to add this year that would be life-giving for you? It would really create a huge impact. Drop those in the Q&A box. I also want to encourage you while you guys are dropping those in, and I want to know, because I want you to get your wheels turning on this, is another way to create a life-giving impact, right? Adding in a life-changing or life-giving habit is to think through your goals and how those things that you want to achieve for the year. Like we have somebody that wants to write a book. What is the one thing that if you did that would make everything else easier and unnecessary? Maybe it's just getting up in the morning an hour before the rest of the family gets up and cranking out, just sitting at the computer for 15 minutes and writing. Okay. Maybe it's just 15 minutes. You block an hour, but you just say, hey, my only goal today is to write for 15 minutes. Okay. Try to distill those habits down to the most core, fundamental, simplest things that you can do. All right. Now, here's where the real power of the system came in for me. It was actually like in the numbers, right? So let's just pretend you're 40 or 40 something, and you live to be about 80 years old. Okay. Now you have about 40 really good years. Let's say, you're in midlife, you have 40 really good years. You would still be creating 40 amazing life-defining events. All right. You would be creating 240 mini adventures, okay, with yourself and your family. You would be adding in 100, just at 4 habits a year. You'd be adding in 160 positive habits that you've added to your life that have become just routine. You can't help but win life big here, right? You just can't help it. Like, how cool would that be? I don't even have 40 amazing life-defining adventure trips on my list, but I bet you as time goes on, I'll have that. All right. Now I'm always thinking in terms, I have a family, I have a small family at home. I'm always thinking like, even if I do this now in my 40s, what happens if I teach my child who's 10 how to do this now for herself? What kind of impact would I create in the world? How amazing would that be? All right. Now I want you to go to the chat. I want you to drop in there. If you haven't done so already, let's not be spectators in this, right? Like this is your invitation to step in and start thinking about how to build this life, how to level up your life, right? The money that we get from passive investing is a tool. What are you going to use it for? What are those life-defining events? What are those mini adventures that you want to create? What are those life-giving habits that you want to add to your life? All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're here live, don't go anywhere. We're about to enter into our after party session.